Hello, my name is Laura, and I'm a 31-year-old woman. I come from a family that didn't have a lot of money. We had enough to get by, but luxuries and extra outings were out of our reach. Because of this, I was determined to work hard to improve my situation. Growing up, I didn't have much time for friendships because my focus was on my studies and later on my jobs. This dedication eventually paid off when I earned a scholarship to a prestigious college. It was there that I met Bruce, who would later become my husband. We quickly became part of the same circle of friends and started dating. After 3 years together, we got married. Despite the normal highs and lows of a relationship, nothing seemed to threaten our bond. Years of hard work led me to a well-paying job that allowed me to afford luxuries I never had before. However, because Bruce earned much less, I found myself covering most of our expenses, including more than just rent and utilities. Despite this imbalance, our love for each other kept us strong and we rarely argued. Our main disagreement, however, revolved around the dream of buying a house. Owning a home was my ultimate goal. It represented success and achievement for me. Bruce shared this dream, but our financial realities were quite different. Despite our discussions, it became clear we hadn't fully understood each other's financial situations. Bruce earned significantly less than I did and had a poor credit score due to late payments and overspending. Discovering the true state of Bruce's finances after we got married was a shock, especially since we had kept our finances separate before marriage. The realization of our differing financial situations brought tension into our relationship, challenging us in ways we hadn't anticipated. Despite the financial challenges Bruce brought into our marriage, my love for him was unwavering. I couldn't imagine leaving him over money issues. As his partner, I believed in sharing not just his joys but also his burdens. This commitment led me to shoulder both our living expenses and help him tackle his credit card debts. It took a year of diligent payments and financial management to improve his credit score, even slightly. However, this dedication meant I had no chance to save money, a fact that Bruce found hard to believe. Bruce, under the impression that we had a significant savings account, was shocked and upset when he discovered we didn't. His disbelief turned into a confrontation about our financial contributions. Despite earning less and contributing little to our expenses, he questioned how it was possible for us not to have savings. I explained the reality. His debts and minimal contributions were draining our finances, preventing us from saving. Bruce argued that he didn't mind living more simply, but I reminded him of his previous dissatisfaction with budget-friendly choices. An attempt to save money by switching to generic brands had led to a week of complaints from him, proving that frugality wasn't as acceptable to him as he claimed. The conversation shifted to the topic of buying a house. Bruce couldn't understand why. With the amount we spent on rent, we couldn't afford to buy a home. I tried to explain that it wasn't that simple, especially with his credit situation. I suggested that our focus should be on improving his credit score first, ensuring we could jointly afford and truly own a home in the future without financial strain. I reassured him that once our financial health was in a better state, we could begin looking for our dream home together. Bruce's persistent push to buy a house was exasperating. It felt like I had to explain financial basics to him as though he was a child, even though he was fully grown and should have understood these matters. Despite any attempts to save what little money was left over each month, we were nowhere close to affording the required down payment. Furthermore, the mortgage would have to be solely in my name, placing a heavy financial burden on me alone, a responsibility I wasn't eager to take on by myself. Bruce's subtle signs of disappointment were meant to remind me of his dissatisfaction, but I found it hard to sympathize with him. Given his financial mismanagement, I felt he should have been thankful that I stayed and supported him, rather than expressing ingratitude, which only served to irritate me further. Regularly, Bruce lamented being the only one among his friends without a home, branding it as a source of shame for someone his age. He employed every form of emotional manipulation he could think of to pressure me into buying a house, actions that left me feeling more repulsed than persuaded. I was baffled as to where he thought the money for such a purchase would come from. When Bruce saw his attempts were futile, he escalated the situation by involving his mother, Angela, hoping she could sway me. He conveniently arranged her visit while I was at work, catching me off guard upon my return. Angela's presence under these circumstances confused me. I was unaware of any significant struggle we were supposedly facing, according to Bruce. The conversation took an awkward turn when Angela mentioned the house buying issue, revealing Bruce had complained to her about it. Despite her intentions, the situation only highlighted Bruce's inability to handle our disagreements maturely. While Angela proudly stated she had raised her son to turn to her with his problems, I couldn't help but wish Bruce had approached our challenges as a partnership, rather than seeking external pressure to get his way. After a tense discussion with Angela, Bruce's mother, we reached a tentative understanding about our house buying dilemma. Angela inquired if the resolution was to have Bruce wait another 4 to 8 years before owning a house, to which I confirmed, emphasizing that it was the practical timeline considering our financial situation. Angela questioned how I could seemingly deny Bruce like this. Unaware of the full context I had shared with Bruce previously, I explained that without sufficient savings for a deposit, and considering Bruce's previously low credit scores, which I had worked hard to improve, taking on a mortgage would place an unfair financial burden solely on me. Angela challenged the notion of this burden, questioning my love for Bruce and suggesting that true love would overlook such practical concerns. While I reaffirmed my love for Bruce, I also stressed the importance of making decisions based on logic rather than emotion alone. Angela offered to lend us money for the deposit, but I declined, insisting that I wanted to purchase a house with our earnings. I mentioned that Bruce was welcome to accept her assistance if he chose, but it was not a route I was comfortable taking. Exhausted from the day's work and the heated discussion, I excused myself to unwind. As I retreated, I could hear Angela accusing me of selfishness for not immediately jumping at the opportunity to buy a house, but I was too drained to engage further. The repetition of explaining our financial reality to both Bruce and his mother had worn me thin. Deciding that enough energy had been spent on the matter for the day, I opted for a hot shower to relax and clear my head. Later, sitting in the tranquility of my bedroom, I reflected on the day's events. Bruce's decision to involve his mother in our private financial debate was upsetting. I've always believed that relationship issues should be resolved internally, without dragging in outside parties, a boundary Bruce knowingly crossed. His action, aimed at pressuring me into agreeing to buy a house, struck me as a desperate and disappointing strategy. This intrusion into our personal matters left me feeling frustrated and questioning the dynamics of our relationship. Bruce's aspiration to match his friend's home ownership status underscored his reluctance to strive for financial improvement. While his friends achieved their financial goals through dedication and hard work, Bruce remained content with his entry-level job since college, viewing any career advancement as too cumbersome. Despite my efforts to encourage him to seek better job opportunities, his comfort with the status quo made any change seem daunting. Angela, Bruce's mother, questioned my willingness to carry the financial load of a mortgage alone, implying that my love for Bruce should override any practical concerns. I chose not to share with her the deeper issue at hand, Bruce's financial irresponsibility. His habit of squandering his salary on trivial items posed a significant risk to our financial stability. If we were to commit to a mortgage, Bruce's contribution would be crucial to avoid compromising our basic living standards. His lack of motivation to improve his job situation made me wonder about his commitment to our future together. The suggestion that I was at fault for not wanting to shoulder this responsibility alone felt unjust. Explaining this to them seemed futile, as I anticipated they would twist my words against me. That evening, Bruce informed me via text that he would be staying with Angela, expressing an expectation for an apology from me to both of them. I stood firm in my conviction that I owed no apology, feeling that it was they who should apologize for putting me in such a difficult position and casting me as the antagonist in the situation. Feeling overwhelmed, I invited my best friend Judy over for support. I needed reassurance that my feelings and decisions were valid amidst the pressure from Bruce and Angela. Sharing the ordeal with Judy, I expressed my bafflement at their united front against me, seeking solace and understanding in a friend who could confirm I wasn't losing my grip on reality. Feeling like I was in the wrong for not having to their demands made me question myself until Judy reassured me that my logic was solid. If Bruce had been patient enough to wait a year, allowing us to save adequately, we wouldn't be in this predicament. Reflecting on our relationship, I realized Bruce's impatience and his tendency to throw tantrums if he didn't get his way had always been an issue. Early on, I tried addressing it, but it seemed my efforts were in vain as I gradually learned to just cope with his behavior. However, the current situation, his demand for a house, was beyond what I could simply accommodate. When Bruce didn't get his way, he'd sulk until I orchestrated some elaborate gesture to appease him, or he'd somehow manage to get what he wanted, likely with Angela's help. Judy speculated that Angela might attempt something drastic to secure the house for Bruce, despite already having her own mortgage. This possibility hadn't crossed my mind, but Judy's insights urged me to consider all angles and prepare for any manipulative tactics they might employ. With Bruce not returning home the following day, Judy and I took proactive steps by purchasing hidden cameras to install around our home. This decision weighed heavily on me, as I was conflicted about the lack of consent from Bruce. Yet, Judy framed it as a precaution to protect myself from potential scheming. Remembering Angela's aggressive tactics at our wedding over a minor catering mishap solidified my resolve. Her willingness to go to extremes for her advantage made me wary of what she might do to ensure Bruce got his house. As Bruce returned home the next day, I had already taken measures to safeguard myself, albeit with mixed feelings about the necessity of such surveillance in our home. This precaution, prompted by Judy's advice and my own experiences with Angela's aggressiveness, was a somber reminder of the complexities and challenges in navigating my relationship with Bruce and his mother. When Bruce returned, he chose not to speak to me, and I felt no compulsion to break the silence first. This standoff continued for several days, with Bruce opting to sleep in the guest room and avoiding me entirely. However, I couldn't help but notice an uptick in Angela's visits. At first, it was just frequent phone calls between Bruce and his mother that caught my attention. Trying to glean some insight, I checked the camera footage but found that their phone conversations were mostly one-sided, with Bruce listening to Angela. The situation escalated when Angela started visiting in person. They would seclude themselves in the guest bedroom for hours, speaking in low tones. Curiosity led me to review the camera footage from these visits, where I discovered their conversations were often filled with disparaging remarks about me. Hearing Bruce speak so negatively was painful and made me realize that our relationship was not what I had hoped it would be. A particular conversation between them stood out to me and confirmed my worst fears. They hadn't approached me for reconciliation because Angela advised Bruce against it, suggesting it would give me too much leverage. Bruce expressed his discomfort with the estrangement, lamenting that the relationship had deteriorated. Angela shared her similar past experience with her husband and hinted at having resorted to manipulation to get her way. She promised to employ the same tactics to help Bruce acquire the house he desired, asking for his compliance with her plan. This revelation was alarming. The prospect of Angela plotting something deceitful was precisely what I had feared. It was clear that they were planning to manipulate the situation to their advantage, disregarding how it would affect me. The confirmation of their scheming through the camera footage was a turning point, solidifying my decision to leave a relationship that had become so toxic and manipulative. Despite discovering the unsettling plot through the recordings, I was initially left in the dark about the specifics of Angela's plan. Just like Bruce, I had to patiently wait for her scheme to unfold. Engulfed in work the following day, I had no opportunity to keep an eye on the happenings at home. By the time I returned, drained from the day's toil, Bruce's unexpectedly cheerful demeanor caught me off guard. His sudden affection sparked my curiosity, reminding me that Angela's plan must have come to fruition. Escaping under the pretext of needing to freshen up, I rushed to our room to check the recordings. My fears were confirmed. Angela had manipulated documents to secure a house in Bruce's favor, deceitfully involving my bank accounts and taking out a mortgage under my name. This betrayal, risking my financial stability and credit, ignited a fury within me. Yet the late hour meant I had to wait until morning to take action. First thing the next day, I sought legal counsel, taking Judy along for support. We initiated legal proceedings against the forgery, ensuring all necessary steps were meticulously followed. Upon my return, I found Bruce still basking in his oblivious joy, with Angela radiating triumph. Their casual inquiry about my day off work was met with the harsh truth of their actions. Confronting them with the revelation of the forged documents in my name, I watched as their smugness faltered. Bruce's naive excitement over the house, blind to the legal and ethical ramifications of their actions, was appalling. When I challenged the morality of their choices, Bruce deflected, framing his desires for a better life as justification for their deceit. Their attempts to dismiss the gravity of their actions only deepened my resolve. The realization that Bruce valued material possessions over honesty and integrity marked a turning point. Their disregard for the consequences of their scheme, and Bruce's accusation of my having a fragile ego for objecting to their criminal actions, underscored the deep flaws in our relationship and Bruce's character. This incident crystallized the necessity of reevaluating our future together, with legal and personal boundaries firmly in place. Indeed, I did accuse them of a crime because that's precisely what they had committed. Bruce's vague aspirations for a better life fell flat as a defense. Such motives hardly sway legal judgment. Their confidence in my lack of evidence vanished when I revealed the recorded conversation on my phone, displaying their panic-stricken faces as they realized the gravity of their actions. I informed them that legal actions were already in motion, advising them to seek legal representation promptly. With my essentials packed, I sought refuge at Judy's, stepping into a whirlwind of court appearances and legal battles. In court, Bruce and Angela attempted to paint me as the antagonist, yet no amount of vilification could excuse their act of forgery. Bruce's defense that he was coerced by Angela crumbled without evidence of any threat from her. Given Angela's history with forgery, she received an 8-year sentence, while Bruce faced 3 years. The reality of being entangled with criminals was unsettling, yet it propelled me to take measures to rectify my financial standing, successfully removing the fraudulent loan and restoring my credit score. Breaking away from my lease, I moved in with Judy, embarking on a journey to rebuild my life from the ground up. The subsequent months were a period of adjustment, marked by the dual process of healing from betrayal and navigating the aftermath of a tumultuous relationship. The divorce proceedings severed the final ties to a profoundly toxic relationship, offering a fresh start. Reflecting on the ordeal, I harbored a hope that the sentences would serve as a catalyst for Bruce and Angela to introspect and amend their ways. The end of the relationship, while painful, ushered in a phase of self-discovery and growth. Grateful for the support of friends like Judy, I am now navigating the path to recovery, embracing the lessons learned and the promise of brighter days ahead. Thank you for lending an ear to my story.